that stuff, and you just kind of fall for it and all that stuff. So basically, what happened was, like, me and my friends, right? Like, I might be Gary and going, but they kind of like, oh, let's throw rocks at these houses or something. And I just picked up the little pebble things and go bloop, 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 and basically, I was throwing rocks at these people's houses. I didn't realise the repercussions of this, right? Then I kind of like apologised to them and stuff like that. I have never done this in my life ever again, but that was interesting because I just like I got
Hello everyone and welcome back to the James Ramblin' Show, coming at you live on Friday night. Tonight's your host, James May.
Hello, welcome back to the James Ramblin' Show. So we're gonna be doing a bit of a different episode this week because I actually obviously moved on for the technology saga and talking about the internet and all of that stuff. And as you can see, there is no guest on the show tonight. Well, I don't really have guests on the show often. They just come here a month, so yeah, I don't really need to really go through that. So I did actually promise that I was gonna have a guest on. I was gonna have a guest on at the end of last week's episode, but it turns out that that's not happening because of certain reasons. Because there is a one of the guests I asked to come on didn't really want to come on the show, and the other felt kind of unprepared for the podcast discussion we're going to get into. So maybe we'll do that next week. But for now, right? But for now, I hope you are all having a good old Saturday, good old weekend. Because I will be bringing you a different sort of topic tonight, right? I'm actually going to talk about I'm going to talk about my childhood memories. So I've actually mentioned like stuff I am into and all of that stuff. That's going to tie into this because this will actually be something to do like how things I've interested in when I was a child. Like when I was a child, the things I was interested in as a child, and then obviously like my memories that I remember, stuff I remember doing in a childhood, and that sort of stuff. That's kind of the gist there of this entire episode. So I'm gonna start off with like what I used to be like as a child, because that's kind of like a starter for this, I guess. So what I used to be like as a child, alright. I used to have blonde hair, so you can see that my hair isn't actually blonde, but it was blonde at one point. I used to have blonde hair. That's the first thing. I I obviously was a baby like before that. Like I was a baby before that, and I did like yeah. I was actually a baby, right? And I was like I never spoke a word. Like I wasn't really that into like talking that much, because unlike this show, because I have to do it for the show. But when I'm outside of school and all that, I don't really talk that much. Like I'm not like I'm not I don't I'm not really a giant public speaker. If that makes any sense. So basically, what the happened that was as a baby, it was like, oh, and I just kind of like nodded. I was like, yeah, if I want this, I'll have that, and that kind of thing. It wasn't a case. I couldn't really, when you're a baby, you kind of don't really know how to speak at all. So you kind of go like, Kibi goo goo gaga, all of that stuff. So as a baby, I just didn't really know how to speak a word of English and that sort of stuff. So it's like, your parents, you call your mama, dada when you're a child. Or this is actually just before you become a child and you become a 5 year old or whatever. But you tell them mama, dada, and you want the baby milk and all of that stuff. That's kind of like what I was like before that. But like after that sort of thing happened, I had blonde hair, and I was actually like I started nursery and I did all of that stuff, and then like in nursery I actually liked playing with dinosaurs, and I actually loved dinosaurs as a child. Like dinosaurs were one of the things that like I was really into. And obviously I covered, I don't really need to mention like how I covered that whole thing about the dinosaurs, the Jurassic World thing, but I wouldn't say I was as into dinosaurs as I am now. Like, obviously, like it's the thing. There's something about children, right? They get into something, right? When you're a child, you get into something, and then after a while, you just stop getting into it because you realize you're into different things, and your mind changes on the things, and that's kind of the memo there. Because half of the things I did as a child probably do not relate to what I am into now, right? Because to go further into this, right? I actually used to like go out a lot with my friends. I used to like play with my friends a lot in my neighborhood, and I would just like play game. I just play game, like not even video games. I would actually just go outside. I would go outside before I even got into social media or anything like that. I'd go outside and I'd play on my scooter. We would play football with each other because I was really into football. Like I just kicked the ball to them and all that stuff, and I really did like that stuff when I was a child. I really liked playing football, and football became a really big thing in my childhood, basically. And then it just kind of changed from there and that stuff like that. So that's kind of like what I was into as a child and stuff like that, and how I just the things I did as a child and that sort of stuff. But I will yeah, but that is an introductory sort of thing as to how I was as a child, and like my childhood memories and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's different. And obviously I was born and raised in Scotland, if that wasn't obvious enough. Scotland is like being born in Scotland, like there was actually, I seen a lot of trash around, or not trash, a lot of garbage around and that stuff, and yeah, man, like throughout my life, right, I have actually been like throughout my life. I'll go into this in like future episodes, but that it is interesting, like just getting really like the things I got into as a child, right? Alright, I'll dive into that, right? The things I got into as a child, I'm gonna just break down some stories I actually have when as a child or a toddler or whatever you wanna call this episode or whatever, right? Like what I got into as a child, right, was like this whole situation happened where like I had these friends, right, Gary and Gordon, right. Right, this happened a while back, right? But when you're like really gullible and you don't realise what you're doing and that stuff, and you just kind of fall for it and all that stuff. So basically, what happened was like me and my friends, right? Like I maybe Gary and Golan, but they kind of like, oh, let's throw rocks at these houses or something. And I just picked up the little pebble things and go bloop, 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 and basically, I was throwing rocks at these people's houses. I didn't realise the repercussions of this, right? Then I kind of like apologised to them and stuff like that. I have never done this in my life ever again, but that was interesting because I just like I got in trouble and that stuff happened where it was a bad situation I got into as a child, and that kind of escalated a little bit, and then yeah, there is a similar situation to this, but like another little weird, strange little thing that happened, right? Like anytime I would play in my backyard, right, in Scotland with football and all that, the dog like when it went over the fence, right. There was actually just one time when the dog just bit the section of the football, You know what I mean? Like the ball, I should say, not the football, That's the sport. But this dog just bit the football, ball. Sorry, I keep saying football for some reason. But the dog just bit that, and they kept biting it and biting it and biting it. And then there was also like another little altercation I got into was like how I accidentally poked a middle finger at one of my neighbours. My dad saw me doing it, and I was like, oh my god, what happened there? What are you doing, James? You know what I mean? Like, I got in trouble, and I actually, when people get like detention at school, right? This is kind of like an example. But when you do something bad, you know, you can't leave the house anymore. And when you're a child and you're playing outside and all that, you can really feel sad. You feel sad, like, oh no, I'm not gonna be able to play outside with my friends anymore. You're just really sad. You're like, oh no, no, I can't go outside. And basically that happened. Basically, what happened. I didn't want to go outside, right? I always just wanted to go outside, and it's really different now. Really different now. So there was that, and then there was just like these times where I would just get really happy about things, and I'm an interesting person, basically, is what I'm trying to say here. So I'm like, kind of like my childhood, I've had these experiences in my life, and I've just kind of, kind of like learned for them, because like, I would actually, because when I was a child, right, and there's also this part where in my life where I would actually play with my friends, and they would, we would mimic each other and all this, and I wouldn't understand it because I don't want to get bullied and made fun of and that stuff, and I never knew how to handle that stuff. Like, I actually for the longest time really didn't like I couldn't take things like I always tried to take things too seriously, and I didn't understand like why something wouldn't be serious, right? Because I was just really like I was just really I was just like I was just a person that didn't really realize things, because when you're younger, right, you develop, like when you're a child, you kind of don't really know too much about things as you go along, and I kind of said that, right, you learn from things and that sort of stuff. So those are kind of like memories I had as a child, definitely. And I actually forgot to mention this, but I don't really think I mentioned it earlier in the episode. But I did actually wear glasses, which was a thing I had, right? So I actually have these glasses right here, which is actually from the Biff and Arthur movie, where basically my friend, you know him, Tom Duncans, basically plays this bully. Not he plays a bully, but he's like a nerd in the movie, and he basically, he has the calculus and all that, and that sort of stuff. So that is that for that sort of thing. I know it looks weird with my glasses like this. Should I actually try wear this for the rest of the episode? Let's try this, I guess. So like, what other things did I do in my childhood? Because I have covered a few things there. I'm trying to think, because there is so much, right? There is so much, right? Wait a sec. I just remembered something, right? What were what I actually, how I talked about movies and that stuff? I never talked about about my childhood movies and all that. I forgot to mention that. So basically, right, it's kind of like a tangent, but of the episode. But basically, I was really into like Shrek, and I was into Pinocchio, right? I was really into Pinocchio. This is like one of my childhood memories, and I really loved Winnie the Pooh as well. There's like these TV shows and movies and all that stuff that I really, really enjoyed as a kid, and I obviously love Marvel. I've loved Marvel for ages. But yeah, back to Pinocchio, right? Pinocchio, right? They made a live action recently, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't really want to talk about that shit. You know what I mean? Because I've loved Pinocchio, and if I'm gonna watch this live action remake of this thing I really enjoyed, I might not, because live action movies kind of like, they kind of feel as though they shouldn't be made sometimes, because like, oh my god, you're just really milking this, aren't you? Man, but yeah, man, just like Pinocchio is like one of the biggest things about my childhood. Shrek, Winnie the Pooh, they made making a horror movie for that as well. Like, they're just milking everything at this point, right? Right, but like, I really liked Pinocchio, and there was other things as well. Like, I loved Horrid Henry as a kid as well. Like, I remember watching Horrid Henry, and there was this other cartoon, right? Dennis the Menace. I remember when I used to go to my granny's house, right? And basically, I would just watch this all the dang time. It's like, new episode on TV of Dennis the Menace. Can't wait to watch more. Can't wait to watch more. Can't wait to watch more. Basically, I watched a lot of that. I never even mentioned that, right? I watched a lot of things as a child. Like I just went for everything, man. Oh man, I just watched Ben 10. I watched Ben 10 as well. I was really into Ben 10. I got the costume, and I actually just really love dressing up as in Halloween and that stuff, man. Honestly, just like my childhood, one of the most like interesting things ever because man, like and what were some of the games that I was into as a child? Well, I'll tell you this, right? I've been a little naughty boy indeed because I actually remember playing Call of Duty at 10 years old, which is kind of it's a bit of a stretch, you know. You know, you shouldn't really be playing Call of Duty when you're 10 years old and all that, you know, like, you know, you should be like, nah, I mean, it's better than playing games at 5 years old or whatever. Because I actually had I had my friend, you know, Gary and Gordon, right? I remember going over to their house, right? They were playing GTA 5 and all this stuff, and they looked really young, and their parents didn't like it, right? But when I was a child, man, my parents didn't want me to play too many violent games, and I never was able to play GTA and that sort of stuff. It was just like they didn't want me to play these games, you know what I mean? So like it just kind of like factors in to how it was, just like my childhood and that sort of stuff. Like man, honestly, oh man, there is so much to go through. Right, I know those are childhood memories, but there's actually a lot of things I liked as a child as well. There's just like movies and games. Like I'm not into games as much, right? And obviously there was books as well. Books, and I do actually look like Harry Potter right now, like you know from the books. I relate it, but books, right? I wasn't really into books, right? I don't think I was into the books that much, right? I might have, man, there's so much to go through, honestly. Like the reading books, right? There's like so many books out there that I can talk about right now, but it was just like really, these are just like some really prominent things I've basically done in my childhood. So I am gonna just let me see if there is anything else we can talk about here. Let me just look through the looking glass. You know how I just said like how I wasn't like when I remember when I said I wasn't really that into Disney movies and all that stuff, right? Basically, right, you know, I had that Pinocchio thing, but I just never really was into that, right? And obviously, because the majority of the time, what the things I was into, it was kind of like geared towards boys and my stuff. Right, when I watched stuff when I was a kid, I was just like, it was just boy stuff. So like Bride, it was like that stuff like blue. But my favorite color ever, right? My favorite color is actually green, right? And blue associated with boys. Like I learnt that. I learnt that through like life and stuff. It's like okay, blue's for boys, pink's for girls. But it's just kind of like a trope now in like the world because you know boys and girls can both like pink and purple, right? Does it? Or blue, right? I actually like purple. Like I don't really mind any color. Like sometimes like this whole like the colors and all that stuff, right? You know, just yeah, and also right, you know, like going about colors, right? You know how in nursery you just like scribble and all that, like because you don't realize like what you're doing and you just draw, you go and you just scribble all over the paper. Yeah, man, I actually did that a lot, and I didn't realize what I was doing. So, oh yeah. I know this episode feels all over the place, but like, you know, I was really into Toy Story as well. Like that was another thing I was really into. Like Toy Story was like a really pivotal thing in my life. Like it really was, honestly. Like Toy Story. There's just a lot. There was a lot of things in my childhood that I really enjoy. Childhood. Did I like any music? I mean, there was the nursery rhymes and all of that stuff as well. You know, I'm just trying to go off of like things I have picked out on the podcast. Use those as ideas for like I could talk about my childhood. So the music that I actually enjoyed when I was a child. I wasn't really into music that much, but it's like the wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, all day long. And you'd learn about that as a child, like, oh, okay, the wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, all day long. And then you have all these other nursery rhymes, and you know, in nursery, I did the that duck game what was it again? Like you go the children sit down and you go duck 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 goose. Duck duck goose was a big game I used to play in my primary in my nursery, and it was just really like, it was like you just ran around and you know, whenever your turn was, and then you know, like there was that whole parcel challenge thing where you know, you pass it on to the next person, 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 and you would just like do that a lot in nursery because they obviously wanted to go to things and make you learn about, or not make you learn about things, but teach you these lessons that you can learn. But you know, I don't remember like learning 1+1 until like, tell me when that was at in primary or nursery. In nursery, I think it was like A B C D E F G H I J K L M N P Q R S T V U W X Y Z. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? You learn all of that. I think that's a primary school thing or a nursery thing. Either way, I actually hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to check us out on Spotify and all that stuff. Hope you enjoyed it, because this was an interesting episode. I just went all over the place here. I just wanted to try something different here, and it's kind of an experimental podcast anyway. So, goodbye. Enjoy the episode. Got the glasses. Hey.